How's it going, Rangers and overall hockey fans? Thank you guys so much for chiming in for the latest episode of Rangers Review. This time, episode 67. So later on the show, we'll be sharing the history of the Rangers regarding that number. And not a lot of highlights in today's show for games 5 through 8 for the Rangers after what was a scorching hot start for this team and their offense, especially on special teams with Mika Zibanejad, Artemi Panarin, and others. Since then, they have done little to nothing on the offensive front. A lot of shots on net, but were those all quality shots? Were those going to get in the back of the net? No. So we're going to be deep diving our raw reactions to the last 4 games for the Rangers. Probably towards the end, maybe give a quick preview on the upcoming games starting tomorrow at the time of recording this. This is October 28th. Play to get into, and if we have a decent amount of viewers here on YouTube on the live show for Rangers Review YouTube channel, we'll answer some questions. But I will say the biggest highlight today, by far, is what I just found out about because, again, my friend doesn't tell me things, and that is Statboy Steven's birthday today. So happy birthday to you, Steven, first and foremost. How are you feeling?
Thanks. How am I feeling? Same as every other day. I mean, I reached an age where my birthday doesn't matter that much. This morning at work, we were in a meeting, a global meeting, and my manager mentioned that it was my birthday, and I wish he hadn't because I kept receiving like messages on Instant Messenger, like the internal messaging system they use, for like half an hour. But it's my birthday. I was born in 1984, so I'm 38. I'm way past retirement age for a hockey player. And yeah, I share a birthday with Jack Eichel. So
there you go. You just got to stay healthy. You just got to stay healthy.
I'm healthier than Jack Eichel, and that's it. No, it was a good day today. Tomorrow we have daylight savings time ending, so I get an extra hour.
Nice.
From Saturday to Sunday, and then Monday is a bank holiday here in Ireland. So, yeah.
What's the name of the holiday?
They call it October Bank Holiday. They don't have a fancy name for it.
It's October Bank Holiday. What does that mean?
It's just they have bank holidays to make up for the lack of like public holidays they have in this country. So they add like 3 random bank holidays throughout the year. You have June, August, and October.
So does bank holiday just mean that the banks are closed?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Cool. Okay. Well, today's show, like I said, is not going to be a fun one. It's definitely not going to be nearly as positive of a discussion. Thankfully for the New York Rangers, as they currently sit 3-3-2 this regular season, there aren't too much things to be concerned about in the long term because, of course, anything can change for them. They're only 2 points out of first in the division. Not like it matters at all at this point in the season. But with that being said, with key injuries to Filipino that we'll get into later in the show, on the lack of the depth in the Rangers' bottom 6 right now is clearly showing. And from the offensive side, from the Chris Kreiders, the Mika Zibanejads, if you're not named Artemi Panarin, you really haven't been doing too much for this team from an offense production standpoint over these past 4 games. So instead of us usually breaking down what would be, our raw reactions and analysis to each of those games, instead, we're just going to share our raw reactions to the Rangers as a whole right now because there's been a lot of similarities. I mean, Steven, we forgot to do, if you guys don't know here on the show, we usually give predictions towards the end of the show on the upcoming games for the Rangers before we record next, what we think the record's going to be. And thankfully, Steven and I forgot to do that in our first episode of the season because the Rangers didn't even muster 1 win. So as we jokingly go back and forth and say, oh, you get the title, I get the title, we pretend that we have like a WWE belt on our chest, whoever wins each week. It doesn't matter right now when the Rangers go 0-2-2. So, Steven, I'm going to throw it back to you. Just let me hear it. What is your biggest concern, at least for the short term right now, regardless of Filipino's current injury, in which he's not on the road trip for the Rangers and they're back-to-back upcoming against both the Dallas Stars and the Arizona Coyotes? Let me just hear it. What is going on with this Rangers team? Because they look like a complete opposite of what they once were to start this regular season.
Yeah, I think what really stands out when you look back at those first 4 games, the home opener against Tampa Bay, they win 3-1. They play a really good game. Nothing to really complain about there. You go up against a team that eliminated you in the playoffs, so you maybe are a little bit more motivated to get that W. They do. They beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-1. It wasn't easy, though. They needed a power play goal, a shorthanded goal, and then a deflection. So Vasilevsky didn't give up any bad goals that game. Next up, you go to Minnesota. to play the Wild, a game that last season you lost handedly. I think it was 6-2.
Yeah, they haven't fared well in Minnesota in recent years, if I'm not mistaken.
You beat them 7-3, and at first glance you're like, "Oh, this is a great win for us." But then you remember that they have a 12.6 million in cap penalties this year. They had to trade away what was his name, Kevin Fiala, to LA to free up cap space.
Yep.
This is not the same team the Minnesota Wild had last year. Yeah, a lot of the players are the same, but their depth has taken a significant hit. So you're winning 7-3 is nice. You put 7 past Marc-Andre Fleury, which doesn't happen often. But the Minnesota Wild, let me actually look up what their record is right now, because that's one thing I wanna go into a little later. Like early in the season, the teams we're playing are not having a good record. Like the Minnesota Wild lost their first 3 games to start the season, all 3 at home. They lost to the LA Kings. They lost to the Avalanche. Okay, you can lose that one. They lost to the Bruins in overtime. And then they beat the Canucks, the Canadiens, and the Senators. But there's a theme here where the teams we beat are probably, we think they're better than they actually are. Same with the Anaheim Ducks. The Anaheim Ducks have some exciting players up front in McTavish and Zegras and Troy Terry.
Ryan Strome.
Frank Vetrano, who, according to Sam Rosen, scored twice in that game for both teams. And yeah, you beat the Anaheim Ducks. You score 6 goals, but you concede 4. And that was really like the Winnipeg Jets game. You lose 4-1. That happens, you know. Hellebuck stole that game for them. The
First back-to-back of the year too.
The Rangers played well that game. I'm not putting that on Halak. But the Anaheim Ducks game, despite the win, was probably a red flag. You give up 4 goals, and then you have the San Jose Sharks with David Quinn coming into your building, and you lose to them in overtime. That overtime goal was absolutely terrible.
I think that was the worst overtime sequence I've ever witnessed as a Rangers fan.
Adam Fox was terrible in that overtime, and unfortunately, the Rangers fall short in overtime, lose 3-2. And oddly enough, David Quinn got his first win as a Rangers coach in the Rangers Sharks game at the Garden. And now he got his first win as a Sharks coach again in the Rangers Sharks game at the Garden.
Wow. That's funny.
So, I think both in overtime too. There you go up against Columbus with Daniil Tarasov in net. You have to score more than twice. And the only goal you score is a 5-on-3, where an unassisted 5-on-3 goal, where Panarin just snipes it. It wasn't even a good 5-on-3 power play. It was atrocious. Then Colorado Avalanche at home. All things considered, the fact that Hedl was out, the fact that you play with Halak in net, to take the Stanley Cup champions and the best team in the world to overtime in your own building after you lost 8-3 to them a year ago at home. All things considered, I'll take that.
And to score late to tie it as well. You know, Jimmy Vesey with a nice setup to Adam Fox. I mean, the Rangers got some late scoring when needed in that game. And it sucks that they lost, but that was easily the most encouraging game of the 4 that
it was. And also when you take into account that second goal by Colorado came off a once in a career time mistake by Shesterkin.
If that was Henrik Lundqvist, you're like, here we go again.
Yeah,
Igor, you don't see this often.
The difference with Henrik Lundqvist is that he handles the puck like a hot potato, and Igor Shesterkin actually does something with the puck. So for all the 1,000 times he plays the puck and does something useful with it, the one time at least will go against, it hurts, it sucks, but I'm not going to crucify the guy for making a mistake when he handles the puck this often.
If only you could bet on Igor Shesterkin playing the puck and mishandling, my God, you're coming out a millionaire that game if that was the case.
This is the same with puck-moving defensemen always leading the league in turnovers, like Erik Karlsson, Brent Burns. They always lead the league in turnovers. Why? Because they always have the puck. I think a turnover per minute of possession would be a much better indicator of how many times a player turns over the puck. And same for the goalie. I mean, how often does the goalie play the puck like in the defensive zone? So not behind the net, but only in front of the goal.
Yep.
Then you divide that by the number of times they cause a turnover. And I think Shesterkin then looks really good because he plays the puck so often that the one time that it actually goes wrong, yeah, it looks really bad, but it's only once.
He's like another forward out there. I mean,
He
the
is.
way that he sets up long passes, especially on power play, it's huge.
He is. It's like the Rover in like the 1920s and 1930s. Like a six skater. But yeah, you lose to Colorado. It sucks, and then you go into
wait. There's one key aspect about that game that you're missing. Alexander Georgiev.
Yeah, look, and Georgiev gets a lot of hate from this fan base, and as a backup, he wasn't great. But last year, December, we saw what Georgiev can do as a starter. Georgiev is a type of goalie that plays better with rhythm. If he plays regularly, his performance goes up. He had, if I remember correctly, a .947 save percentage in the month of December when Shesterkin was out with an injury. That's the Georgiev you get when you use him as a starter. Georgiev as a backup is a completely different story. I think the Colorado Avalanche have a better goalie situation now than they did last season. And that's scary because the Colorado Avalanche won the Cup last season. But what really stood out to me, I'm going to say one last thing about Colorado here. Colorado did what I actually suggested the Rangers should do last season when Lundqvist was still on the team. The Colorado Avalanche had a power play unit with 3 defensemen. They had Bowen Byram, Devon Taves, and Samuel Girard, I think, on the power play unit.
They have a lot of really good puck moving defensemen. You're not even including Cale Makar. You just
but Cale Makar was on the first unit. This was the second unit, and they actually used the second unit for more than 15 seconds, which is also nice to see. But their puck moving defensemen are so good that they give you a better chance on the power play than the forwards you have that are not on the first unit. So it throws the whole argument out the window in terms of, can you have more than 1 or 2 puck moving defensemen? The Avalanche are showing that if they're good enough, then yes, you can. So that was really refreshing to see. But then you go into UBS Arena to play the Islanders, and it felt like the Islanders were coached by Barry Trotz again.
Funny how Barry Trotz has come out and said that if he's going to coach again, it'll be for original 16.
Yeah, so it's going to be either the Rangers or the Maple Leafs because the other 4 teams just hired a new coach.
It ain't going to be the Rangers. I don't see that happening.
It's going to be the Leafs then. I don't think Gallant's going to be on. I don't think Gallant's on the hot seat.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, you lose 4 in a row. It sucks. Panarin without a point in back-to-back games. Panarin has only gone 3 games without a point once as a Ranger. Only once. So let's see how he does tomorrow when we play the Dallas Stars. Now, of course, we play the Dallas Stars with Nils Lundqvist, and the following day, the Arizona Coyotes with Patrick Nemeth. And everyone's talking about, former Rangers always score on us. But so
Dryden Hunt didn't. So there is something to be said.
Yeah, and here's the thing with Dryden Hunt, right? Dryden Hunt was a waiver pickup. The Rangers put him on waivers, and the Colorado Avalanche claimed him. And I saw some Ranger fans on social media say, I cannot believe we put him on waivers when the best team in the league is going to claim him. Yeah, but the only way the best team in the league, because it's prior to November 1st, so the waiver order is based on last season's standings. The only way the Colorado Avalanche can claim him is if his 29 other teams say no.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 29 teams looking at Dryden Hunt and say, we don't need him. And the only reason Colorado said, yes, we take him, is because they are without Gabriel Landeskog for another 6 weeks, I think. He had knee surgery in the offseason. He'll be back soon. But look, Dryden Hunt hasn't even played 7 minutes in a game for the Colorado Avalanche. I think his time is like 6:45, 6:32, and then 4 minutes, 50 seconds. So it's not like Dryden Hunt is a contributing factor on a Colorado Avalanche team that's doing well. And, sometimes you lose players through waivers. The last time the Rangers lost a player through waivers during the season was Josh Juris in, I think, 2016.
Holy shit. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've lost Mason Geertsen and Jared Tenorti before the season started, but a mid-season player lost through waivers. You have to go back to 2016 for Josh Juris, and I think 2014 for Jeff Helper.
And speaking of, extra defensemen, the Rangers have officially signed Ben Harper to a contract.
Yeah, Ben Harper. I think Ben Harper is going to be decent for the Hartford Wolfpack. more the Jared Tenorti replacement. Of course, Tenorti was claimed
Correct.
in the offseason by the Chicago Blackhawks. They need a replacement in Hartford for that guy. So Ben Harper, who was already on a tryout with the Wolfpack, signed a 1-year NHL deal. He cleared waivers today, so he can play for the Wolfpack now. Yeah, I don't think that's going to impact the Rangers much. You know, the Rangers have their 6 defensemen with Hayek and Jones rotating in and out at the moment.
What has your take been on that before we get into more on the offense? Because I want that to be the bulk of the discussion for today's show. What has your take been on, Hayek's play over the last times he's been out there? Of course, Jones didn't have nearly the best game. I think that's an understatement. The last time that he was out there prior to, Hayek then coming in for the next 2 games. What has been your overall take? Has it been the same exact as it was to start the year, or do you understand Gallant's thought process a little bit more here?
I think defensively, there's not much difference between Hayek and Jones. But I think Jones plays a more dangerous style offensively. He moves the puck well, and I still think you need that on every pair. On every defensive pair, you need a guy that can move the puck. On the top pair, it's Fox. On the second pair, it's Miller, and on the third pair, it was Jones. It was Lundqvist last season when he played with Nemeth. But Jones caused some turnovers. Granted, there's no denying that, and I think sitting Jones for a game or two makes sense, but to do it in the third game of the season, I think is a bit much. To do it, I think this is like 3 games he played now out of 8. I don't think Hayek is good enough to warrant scratching your young, promising defenseman in Zach Jones.
And speaking of young, promising defensemen, let's turn to the guy that's paired on the other side, and Braden Schneider. What has your been on him so far through these 8 games?
I think Braden Schneider's been okay. I think defensively he had some lapses, but that's understandable for a guy his age. I think he turned 22 last month, so he's still young. He gets a very long leash from this coaching staff, which I like. I like the fact that he doesn't have to worry about getting healthy scratch for making a mistake. I just wish the other young players got the same treatment.
It seems like there's a clear bias with the size, is there not?
I mean, there's always a bias, regardless of what the bias is. Some players always get more credit than others. I just wish that, especially last season, a guy like Alexis Lafreniere had as much credit as Braden Schneider seemingly has this year. Because I think with that kind of credit, he wouldn't have to worry. He wouldn't be as cautious, and we may have seen more out of him because confidence is everything, especially with these young kids. But yeah, Schneider, I like Schneider. I have to get used to that new number though, number 4. That's
I agree. I still have to get used to it as well. But okay, so let's piggyback a little bit here to why the Rangers have fallen 0-2 over the past 4 games. And while these games weren't complete blowouts aside from Columbus, I mean, just for them to perform the way that they did against Columbus was discouraging. From the jump, I wasn't happy with what I was seeing from that Ranger team, and Columbus just looked like a team that wanted it more. You saw those similar aspects in the Rangers' performance or lack thereof in their last loss to the New York Islanders on the road, even though, it's basically home still, right? So when I evaluate this offense, they have 40-plus shots in their past 2 games. They outshot Columbus, I believe, again, I could be wrong. I think it was like 31-21, almost a 10-shot difference in that loss where Columbus scored 5 goals. And then the only game of the 4 that the Rangers were outshot was, surprisingly enough, the game against the Sharks, where, again, they didn't look too sharp. There was clearly some issues going on with this team, from defensive miscues to offense just not looking in as unison as you'd expect. It's like, there's always that cliche saying of teams that tend to play down to lesser opponents, especially a Sharks team that was entering that matchup 0-5, if I'm not mistaken. But you could clearly tell that the Rangers had that type of aspect. Maybe not so much with the mindset, but it showed in their production, again, lack thereof on the ice. So from evaluating this offense as a whole, I view this as, okay, we have a major issue because with Philip Hedl out right now on injury, you can clearly tell that's hurting this bottom six. I mean, there's no denying it. Hedl has been looking really, really sharp for the Rangers to start the year. Pretty much the exact same thing that he was looking like, maybe to a slight lesser degree, if not better, than how he was performing in playoffs for the Rangers. This guy's taking a new step in his game as a young player who's been on this Rangers roster for quite a while now, as hard as it is to believe, as he's still in his early 20s. But Hedl out with injury. Again, he's not on the road trip, so you're still not going to see him back for a couple games here. This bottom six concerns me, and this is something that was expected should guys, one, produce not as advertised, and two, injuries occurring for a Rangers team that also doesn't have the depth right now through, say, the AHL from an offensive standpoint. I mean, maybe you want to give Bobby Trevino a try, but that's a big question mark. You know, Jimmy VC has been in and out of the lineup, has been in every game to start the year. He's looked solid at times again. Looked solid in that game to get that set up for Fox against the Avalanche. But from a bottom six standpoint, there are some clear red flags with this team, not only from an offensive production, but also just with their back check. I mean, this team as a whole, after start off so red hot, you saw them give up a couple goals there to Anaheim, right? You saw them give up a couple to Minnesota. The defensive miscues were there from both a back checking and a overall defensive standpoint, but they were overlooked to an extent as a fan because you're seeing them score 7 and 6 goals apiece in each of those games. So it's easier to brush aside when it isn't, say, the prettiest win because you're not netting goals. They just keep happening. And then going from Hedl and his absence and how much that has hurt this team in the short term, then you look at the top six. Chris Kreider. Kreider's, I mean, he's been underwhelming to me to start the year. Not so much with the lack of goal scoring, just his opportunities. I knew that a fall off would be inevitable for someone like him after having a career high season. No chance in hell he gets 50 goals again this year, let alone ever in his career. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. We all knew that last year was his Adam Graves year. And that's why it was that great to see the Rangers have a pretty deep run with him, all things considered, in the playoffs. But Kreider has looked underwhelming. I mean, Mika has not looked as great as of late with at least getting those goals. The Rangers look a little too predictable, in my opinion, with how their setups are. It seems like teams are catching on quick, especially on the power play and what to expect. I mean, we all know how predictable it is when you have Alexander Ovechkin in that left dot, right, for the Washington Capitals. Yet, teams still do not know how to properly defend against it because Ovi is a one-of-a-kind goal scorer. A little bit of a different type thing going on here when you have the likes of Mika Zibanejad. Yes, he's known in that left dot, but you see it clear as day. So you can tell that teams are starting to get better looks on the power play than when which they're on the penalty kill. And then from a 5-on-5 standpoint, a lot of guys are looking underwhelming. I mean, Capo Caco has had some really nice flashes, some great opportunities. We just saw the other night. It wasn't against the Islanders, I don't believe. It was a game before that. And he just split the D, made him look still. He almost pulled a McDavid. I mean, he was very close to scoring a beautiful goal. And you can tell that Caco's progression as a forward is certainly there, as is Alexis Lafreniere. But when this team is not getting things going their way early with the goal scoring, they just seem like they don't know how to properly respond. I mean, you don't score more than 2 goals in any of the past 4 games. That's not a good look. So the issue for me is that the Rangers don't have just an ice cold offense right now. They have some clear defensive miscues as well. I mean, let's be frank here. Adam Fox has not looked stellar every single game. That would be the farthest thing from the truth if I said that. I mean, there's been a lot of aspects about this team that have been the opposite of consistent. And it's kind of mind-boggling, again, after them to be a scoring machine through the first 4 to, not even know just how to properly I shouldn't say get the puck on net, but getting these quality shots, they've been too cute with it plenty of times with their passing plays. So let me hear you expand a bit on all that I had to say there on this team and their lack of production right now.
Yeah, I think there's a significant difference in the first 4 games and then the second 4 games when it comes to the power play. In the first 4 games against the Lightning, the Wild, the Jets, and the Ducks, the Rangers scored 5 power play goals on 14 attempts. That's pretty good. That's over 35%. The last 4 games, they had 1 power play goal on 15 attempts, and that was a 5-on-3. So the Rangers have not scored a 5-on-4 one-man advantage power play goal on 15 attempts. The only power play goal they got was a 5-on-3. It's just not good enough. And what concerns me is that the power play is so static. They try the same thing every time. And you mentioned Ovechkin. Ovechkin has been trying the same thing for 15 years. But the reason it works is because if you don't cover Ovechkin, or if you want to cover Ovechkin, you have to leave a guy like Oshie wide open, or Nicholas Backstrom in the past. The Rangers on the power play don't have another player that really shoots the puck the way Zibanejad does. You have Kreider, who's there for the deflections. Fox and Panarin are elite passers, but they don't really shoot on the power play. And Trocheck down the middle isn't really creating them enough for opponents to be worried about him. And the last 4 games, maybe it's just a coincidence that it happened in these 4 games, but it looks like opponents have figured out how to stop the power play. And my biggest concern with this team and an extension, the coaching staff, is there doesn't seem to be a plan B. When things don't work out, they go out there and try the same thing over and over again. In one of the Twitter spaces a few days ago, I referred to Gerard Galland jokingly as a Harlem Globetrotters coach. And what I mean by that is he coaches the team in a way where he just goes, go out there, have fun, play the way you play. And that's great. The first year in Florida, the first year in Vegas, players respond to that really well. But there doesn't seem to be a plan B. There doesn't seem to be an adjustment when things don't go his way. And the other thing I noticed, when you look at coaches like Rod Brindamore, so when you play at home in the NHL, you have the advantage of the last change. So every time there's a face-off, the opponent has to...
Yeah, you bring this up a lot.
Yeah, the visiting team has to put their 5 guys out first, and then as the home team, you get to respond to that. A guy like Rob Brindamore uses this to his advantage. He creates mismatches. Gallant doesn't seem to do that. If you look at the Montreal Canadiens, who is the guy who runs the power play there? Alexander Burrows, who played for the Canucks in the past.
Yes, and I despised him as a player.
Me too. But he said something interesting about a year and a half ago when he was interviewed and asked about the power play in Montreal.
I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
He said, we don't treat it as a first and second unit. We try to create a matchup that we think is most beneficial. And this is the thing that I wish I could see a little bit more of when it comes to Gallant. When you have a power play at home, sometimes it pays off to put your second unit out there first. Put guys like Kakko and Lafreniere and Trouba and Jones, if he's playing, and Hedel or Kravtsov or Gudra, whoever's on that second unit. Put them out there first against their first PK unit, because they have to put the guys out first. If they put their first unit out, you put your second power play unit out. And then by doing so, you don't even have to have success in the first 30 seconds. The moment the puck is cleared, they go for a change. That's when you put your top guys out there. And then you let your top guys do what they do best against their second choice penalty killers. And that's what I want to see. That kind of ingenuity is what's missing from this team, it seems. And I'm not saying that is a recipe for success and like guaranteed we're going to score more goals, because truth is we still have to be better 5-on-5. This is also something that we talked about last season. But I think there's definitely some creativity, some outside the box thinking that's missing here.
Yeah, and I see that, and it's funny because you mentioned the Globetrotters, aspect, if you will, and us as Ranger fans, we enjoy the fact that Gallant does, in a lot of ways, allow this Rangers team to flow the way that you expected them to versus what you say got under David Quinn. It felt a lot more strict. I mean, there were a lot of things that weren't going right during his tenure with the Rangers, and one thing that is similar but different at the same time is Alain Vigneault's time as head coach for the Rangers, because he was someone that was the opposite of having a willingness to change. I mean, that is exactly why Alain Vigneault's tenure with the Rangers ended what it did. It sparked early, and then it quickly spiraled over the years, with the Rangers just not knowing how to properly adjust, especially when it came to playoff time. Difference being, though, is that while those lack of adjustments may have similarities between then Rangers coach and now Rangers coach, AV's thought process, his viewpoint on the team definitely felt different. There was still more of a strict aspect. He didn't come off as a type that was as loosey-goosey, in my opinion, as what we get with Gallant, especially with the younger kid. Because, look, Gallant has been giving opportunities to Alexi Lafreniere and Capo Caco. It's not like they're not getting playing time. They are, and that's phenomenal to see. But to your point, you can tell that when this team is off to, say, a rough start, or if they give up a bad goal, like right at the end of the period or right to start, they just look flustered. I'm not overly concerned. And again, I'm not here trying to, preach to the choir that, the Rangers season is doomed, that's over. No. Okay. The Rangers are in their first of what is going to be many rough patches in a normal 82 game regular season. This type of thing happens, and at least we can be grateful that the Rangers didn't lose these 4 games in regulation, or else it really would have hurt more. It's always nice to have that extra point, even though I find it silly a little bit as is. But my overall takeaway from the Rangers performance right now is I think not having this depth is something where if it gets exposed more going forward, say hypothetically, Heedle's out longer than we expected. Again, I don't expect that to be the case, nor do I want to. Or let's say the Rangers deal with more injuries in their bottom 6. This is something that we could see the Rangers teeter with having their ebbs and flows of a normal season, but up and down, decent amount in the first half of the year up until the trade deadline. Biggest problem is that they don't have that same type of cap cushion like they did at last year's trade deadline. So while I expect Chris Drury to get creative and make some moves, to what extent we'll worry about then. But for now, I think the big thing is making sure that Heedle gets healthy and getting this team back in its normal flow on how they were looking great. Because I think people are quickly realizing, I hope so, at least, just how damn good of a player Philip Heedle is. I mean, not having him in the lineup right now is hurting this team. I don't see how you view things any other way. He gives you a lot more depth than what you currently have right now at the center or wing position. And the kids feel comfortable with him. The vets feel comfortable with him. And he himself looks like he's playing the best hockey of his career. So he's someone that I really hope returns from injury as soon as their away trip is done. But one final tidbit that I wanted to discuss with you, Steven, is Julien Gauthier returning to the lineup. We saw him. He had a nice look to start the game against the Islanders. He did the very Julien Gauthier-esque going down the right side. Couldn't score the goal, but he did get the shot off. So I will commend him for that. It wasn't like he completely missed the net or something. Julien Gauthier didn't look bad by any stretch, but he also looks the exact same too. So with Vitaly Kravtsov now back on the Rangers, coming back from his upper body injury, whatever that was, injuries have been an ailment for Vitaly to start the year. Injuries have been a problem for him in his young career. Dealing with physicality at the NHL level hasn't necessarily been his strongest suit. So let me know, in your opinion, who do you feel deserves to be getting more playing time, with the assumption that Vitaly's fully healthy now for the next, let's say, at least next week or so games? And 2, who do you expect to get more playing time? So give me your personal opinion, and what do you expect Gallant to do?
Yeah, look, Kravtsov has not been off to a good start. Let's be clear here. I don't think he should have made the team with the way he was playing in preseason, but he did, which is ironic because a year ago we had the same discussion and it was the exact opposite. He deserved to make the team and he didn't. Kravtsov has not been good. And it doesn't help that he goes down with an injury in his first shift of the season against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So there's some extenuating circumstances, but still, he has not met expectations.
When he's played, what has he done that's been encouraging, right?
I'd say the only play that there's a play that I would like to point out here, on the Adam Fox goal against Colorado.
Okay.
Adam Fox pushes McKinnon off the puck in his own zone.
Yeah.
Skates up the ice. Kravtsov, at the end of a shift, 45 seconds on the ice, he skates towards the net. He crashes the net. Devon Taves is clearing him away from the crease to be behind the net, and that opens up the middle for VZ to pass to Fox. Now,
Okay.
I'm not saying that with this one play, Kravtsov has redeemed himself, but
Oh yeah, he's the best thing since sliced bread.
it is worth pointing out that he was definitely involved on that goal,
Okay,
even
fair.
though he did not get an assist.
Okay.
So, but then Julien Gauthier comes in, and his first or second shift of the game, he has a breakaway. He doesn't score, but even if he doesn't score, you know what he does? He shifts momentum in your
Yeah.
favor. He creates offensive zone pressure with the way he plays with and without the puck. He drew a penalty. We didn't score on the power play, but still, you draw a penalty. That's a positive impact on the game. Julien Gauthier has a bigger positive impact on the game than Vitaly Kravtsov right now. And if I had to choose between the two for tomorrow's game against Dallas, I would play Gauthier over Kravtsov.
Wow. So we talked about this off air for people that obviously don't know, which is all of you. And I asked Steven like already this question, and he said, "Oh, you know what my answer is going to be," and I didn't. I thought you were going to go with Kratsov, so I'll be son of a bitch. The man with the Kratsov jersey behind him is like, no, we're going go. Even though actually you have both those jerseys. I'm focusing on
there's no Kravtsov jersey behind me for today.
Yeah, you have a Kratsov jersey behind you that's in like a frame, and then you have Gauthier.
Oh yeah, no, there it is. Yeah, there at the back. I forgot about.
Oh, you didn't even know. See, I knew. But
is.
then you got the Gauthier jersey as well, which is fitting for today's episode. But I obviously agree with you. I mean, Gauthier, again, didn't look like he was discouraging in many ways. Just his ability to make a potential impact, to swing the game early on is important. But something, and again, I'm not going to really pinpoint him much right now. I think it just comes down to this team as a whole, right? I mean, when you look at this forward group and you look at this defensive group, I just want to see them more in unison, especially towards the end of that Islanders game. Am I wrong to say that it just like they just looked like that they were almost lost? Like the second goal that they gave up to, where was the defensive coverage? It's nowhere to be seen.
True.
You know, I get it's a back-to-back, but still, it's early in the season. This isn't playoffs. You know,
and
why are we getting this lackadaisical play this early?
I know it's a back-to-back, but you play at home against Colorado, and then you play on the road against the Islanders.
Yeah,
it's not like you're on a plane.
It's not even like traveling's an issue.
You know, you get out. I mean, as a fan, you get on the Long Island Railroad and you're there.
Yep.
It's really not that much. You sleep in your own bed before the game. Yep. There's no hotels. You know, it's a home game. It's essentially a home game. Same with when you play against the Devils in New Jersey. You sleep in your own bed the day of the game. It's a home game. But what I'll say about Gauthier is you were talking earlier about, reinforcements from the AHL. Gauthier is the barometer now for players in Hartford on what they have to do to get a call.
Good point.
If as a forward you want to get a call up, you need to play better than Julien Gauthier is doing in Hartford. It's that simple.
And he was looking good to start the year in Hartford too.
Yeah, people want to see Will Cooley. People want to see Gustav Riedel. People want to see Bobby Trevino. I want to see them too. But Julien Gauthier, with the NHL experience, with the way he plays too, I agree that he was the first call-up when they needed a forward. I'm not going to argue there. And he proved it. He played 10 minutes, 44 seconds, but he drew a penalty. He created offense. It may not have resulted in a goal, but he's at least creating a spark. And Kravtsov hasn't really done that yet. I know Kravtsov's back now. Hopefully he can play a game without getting injured. But yeah, the entire bottom six has been underwhelming. You talk about Ryan Reeves, Ryan Carpenter, Sammy Blais, Barclay Goodrow, Jimmy Vesey. Aside from Philip Hedl in the bottom six before he went out with a head injury, no one in that bottom six has really started. Goodrow has 2 goals. He's had some moments, so maybe I should exclude him from this. But when we went to the Stanley Cup Final in 2014, our fourth line was Brian Boyle, Dominic Moore, and Derek Dorsett. That is a fourth line that you can win with. And I like Ryan Reeves. I like the energy he brings to the team. But on the ice, there's just not enough that I'm seeing from him. Same with Ryan Carpenter. That fourth line, and this is another thing with Gerard.
I was just going to mention both Carpenter and Sammy Blais, all these guys.
And I know they had an assist. Both had an assist on the Goodrow goal. Great. I still don't think that the Goudreau goal against Colorado. I still don't think that they bring enough offensively that you can actually get something out of the fourth line. And what frustrates me is that the game against the Islanders, there's 6 minutes left in the game. You're down 2-0. You need 2 goals to tie it, not 2 goals to win it, 2 goals to even tie it. And the fourth line's out there with 6 minutes to go.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing?
How haven't we seen so many spurts of the fourth line not playing for like a good portion of a period? So to see that with only 6 minutes left, I
It's
can
just,
understand how it's disheartening.
if you need a goal, I don't want to see Ryan Reeves out there. I'm sorry. If
You
you
know,
are defending a lead, if you need a spark in the middle of the second period, then throw Ryan Reeves out there and make something happen.
you
But
know
with
what
six
pains
minutes to
me?
go, with the 6 minutes to go and 2 goals down, that's not the line you should go with as a coach. I'm sorry.
There's one guy that would really, really be nice for this Rangers fourth line right now.
Don't say Tyler Mott.
Man, does it suck to not have him.
I
It
know.
really
I
does.
know. I
He
know.
he was so much better than you could have ever imagined. He was perfect. He was perfect. Like there's nothing more to say. He was exactly what you would want
Yeah.
for your fourth line. That can be on the penalty kill. Can actually like he's not an offensive stud, but the guy knows what the hell he's doing when he enters the offensive zone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
damn, that's all I gotta say. I've been rooting for the Senators hard in part just for Mott's success. I really like him.
Yeah. Mottawa.
Mott. Are they playing tonight? I gotta check. I've been betting on the Senators lately, and I've been winning. So
The
let me see.
Mottawa Senators. Let's see if they play tonight.
I'm curious.
Um,
They do not. Okay.
no.
They play tomorrow.
Tonight we have.
Well, they play the Panthers tomorrow, so who knows how that game's gonna go.
Tonight we
Hurricanes
have.
versus the Islanders.
Tomorrow we have, or tonight. Sorry, tonight because it says 3:30 a.m. See, this is a bit confusing. Living in Europe, sometimes it says tomorrow, but it's like right after midnight, so that means it's tonight's game. The old Jets against the new Jets.
Ooh.
Coyotes Jets.
Yep. That's a game I won't be watching. Hurricanes versus Islanders. I will live bet on that one.
And then Canucks Penguins. I mean, an orca destroys a penguin in real life, but unfortunately, it doesn't work like that in hockey.
It would be nice if we saw a JT Miller hat trick.
I still think it's hilarious that in a division with ferocious animals like sharks and orcas and a kraken, there's a team called the Ducks.
Well, you know how it started, obviously.
I know.
Yeah.
I think it's just funny that you name your team the Ducks, like it's a really cute name. And then you're in a division with all these like predators, you know.
I mean, I gotta say the Canucks name too. They're I love the orca, but the actual what a Canuck is. Oh, I'm supposed to be intimidated by a wild Canadian. Like what else is? It's literally it's all it is. It's just
True.
it's literally like that's all it is.
True. Could be worse,
Maybe if he
though.
has an axe in his hand, which is
I mean,
possible. They
there's
could
a
have
team in
done that.
Ottawa.
That could have been really cool for a Halloween themed jersey. They have the Canuck, skating, but they have an axe in his hand. That look a little cool. But
There's a team in Ottawa that's named after politicians, so it could be worse.
that's true. That's very true. All right. Well, you know what? I don't think there's really much else that needs to be said here. Let's answer a question or two if we got in the live show, and then we'll wrap things up with the number 67. Does that sound good with you?
Sounds good.
Oh, should we do our predictions now too?
Yeah, let's do our predictions.
Okay, let's do that really, really quick.
I'm still happy that we didn't do them last week.
I don't know when we'll record next. Like, I genuinely do not know the exact day.
I would say if we record next week, Thursday, then we have 3 games to predict.
I don't want to do next Thursday though, because that's the day of a game.
Friday then.
Okay, we'll try for Friday. All right, so we'll do it every 4 games. We'll try to base it off of that.
No, wait, I can't Friday. I'm going out to dinner with Catherine on Friday.
Okay. She coming down?
Wednesday she's landing in Dublin.
Okay. So Hmm.
We can just predict the next 8 games, and whenever we record, we make
No,
a
no,
playoff.
no, no, not next date. Let's do the next. Let's do the next
Fine.
four. Four. We'll
Let's do
figure
the
it
next
out.
5.
We'll do the next four because we'll either try to record on Wednesday after the Flyers game, or maybe early Friday before you go to dinner, depending on how
Okay.
early. So
Yeah. So if we do after the Bruins game, it's the 6th. Yeah. So we can do Friday or Saturday then, because the Rangers play next on Sunday.
yeah, I might be out of town though.
All right. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll try to make it work.
Let's just for the fun of it predict the next 4 games. Okay.
All right.
So you got back-to-back Dallas and Arizona, then
So who
Flyers,
goes first? The
Boston.
winner of last season? Do I go first?
Were you the winner of last season? I don't know. We haven't kept tallies like that. Write it
It's
down
time
now.
to will it into existence. But maybe this season we should actually keep score until the end of the season.
We should write it down right now, though. Okay.
All right.
All right. You're the birthday boy, so if you decide who goes first.
You can go first. It'll be your birthday gift to me, and I hope you suck at the prediction.
Okay. I'm going to go. Two, 1-1.
Oh, damn it! All right, 2-1-1.
And I am going to also go with 11 goals.
You go with 11 goals, then I'll go with 12. I'll take the over.
Okay.
All right, all done.
What was your prediction? Did you say it?
Oh, sorry, 3-1-0.
Okay. All right. Cool. I
I
hope
wanted
that.
to go 2-1-1, but
I hope. Yeah. Okay. Sweet.
I'll let you go first. So.
All right. Let's answer a question or two before we wrap things. Let me see here. If you guys got any questions, we'll answer a couple before we get out of here. Let's see here. How long till we move on from Gallant? I mean, that's pretty. I would say it's pretty long still. I don't foresee.
I have a prediction based on historic data.
Just on
Gallant,
Rangers history, is what you're saying?
Historically, Gallant always gets fired midway through his 3rd season.
Okay.
In Columbus, Florida, and in Vegas, he got fired midway through his 3rd season. So we're probably looking at January 2024.
We'll come back to you in January 2024. We'll see what happens by then. A lot of people giving you happy birthday shouts, by the way, Steven, here
Thanks,
on
everyone.
YouTube at least. Do we want to trade for Kane? I don't. I mean, considering the Rangers really can't afford it, even if they wanted to right now. No, I want the Rangers to acquire players that they think will be best for them come the trade deadline, because I know that they're going to have clear holes like they did last year.
Yeah, so the Rangers cap situation right now is that if everything goes well and if they don't have a lot of injuries throughout the season, they will end up on deadline day with prorated 4.2 million in cap space max.
Okay.
Kane's cap it is 5.25. So that means that you need either a 3rd team to retain salary, or you need to give up a player that has a cap hit higher than 1.5 million to make it work.
Okay.
So unless there is a deal that includes Semi Blais or Ryan Reeves or Ryan Lindgren or Barclay Goodrow, Capo Caco or Philip Hedel, because those are the guys with bigger cap hits than league minimum, it's just not financially, it's not possible. The player that I'd be interested in, but I don't know if the team is going to make the playoffs or not, and this player would fit under the cap at 50% retained, is Vladimir Tarasenko.
Why would they trade him?
Like I said, if the Blues if the Blues don't make the playoffs, but Tarasenko at $7 million would have a cap hit at 50% of 3.5 that would fit under the cap for us at the deadline.
I would love Vlad, but Blues are going to make playoffs. Come on.
Yeah, but Patrick Kane does not fit under the cap. If this was last year, then yeah, go for it. But if you have to pay a third team for salary retention, it just becomes too expensive to get Patrick Kane.
We really need to get more. We need to get these guys to start to explode in Laffy and Kako. They're not
Yeah.
playing bad either. That's the thing. That's the one thing that
No,
I have
look,
noticed. This is not something, especially within their first couple of years, respectively,
Mhm.
where there were like clear issues. Like Kako's looking the most confident he's ever been. They're not. I would say that they're close, but they're not at Heedle level yet, if that makes sense. So it's a slow burn with these kids, especially. And I saw I think Johnny in the live show commented this, and he's 100% right, because I've always known this too, is that when you draft top guys, first or second overall, on an already contending team or soon to be contending team that's like developed, naturally it's going to be more of a slow burn for them in a lot of scenarios. Not for every, but especially for the Rangers that unfortunately have been historic with this. Yes, because again, you saw how Kako was utilized when he first came in the AHL through his first 2 years.
Mhm.
Laffy, similar aspect. These guys are not getting that same type of guaranteed 15 to upwards of 20 minutes a night, first line power play right from the
Okay.
jump.
So how
Regardless
come?
on their highs and lows, if you're on a
Mhm.
rebuilding team, they're still going to give it to you because they have nothing to lose. That's the point.
Okay,
It's strictly development. For the
I
Rangers,
get
it's
I get
balance.
that point. I get that point, but what about guys like Seth Jarvis and Anton Lundell?
They weren't
Um,
top picks.
they weren't top picks, but they're from the same draft classes,
Yeah.
and they are on really good teams with the same depth the Rangers have.
Yeah.
And they still get their top 6 minutes. I'm not saying that the argument is invalid. I'm just saying that, yeah, I understand the argument, but there's a case to be made against it too. And
I'm not disagreeing with that.
so far this season, the last time I looked it up, Alexis Lafreniere ranks 10th in scoring in his draft class, and Kako 15th. And for top two picks, that's just not enough. Even if they don't get power play time, that's just not enough. You know what's even more frustrating? That Nils Lundqvist is out producing both Kako and Lafreniere ahead of tomorrow's game against the Stars.
Yeah.
He has 4 points.
Yep. That is frustrating, especially because it's not even like the guys are forward. So,
yeah, I didn't even want to bring that up, but yeah. Yeah.
Davis Douglas says, any Ranger playing better than expected right now?
Oh, that is actually a really good question. Hayek.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. Hayek is playing better than expected.
Yeah. He doesn't look like a complete liability out there.
Panarin,
I agree.
Until last night, when McDavid and Draisaitl had like a monster game, he was leading the league in points with 12.
Yeah. Brett has carried this team in a lot of ways.
We're 8 games into the season, and he has 12. He has 12 points. That is a pace of 120, and he looks much better than last season and in the playoffs. He looks fresh.
Yeah.
And I think Vinny Trocheck is not getting the praise that he deserves for the way he's played.
Agreed. He's still looked really good. It's unfortunately with the Rangers offense slowing down, you always like to. I saw someone too. Who was it? Didn't you tweet it from a schmuck on Facebook saying Trocheck's the reason for like
someone in a Facebook group said that Trocheck's the reason we lost 3 in a row.
It's okay to be fucking stupid, but you don't got to say it publicly.
I mean,
like, it's okay. Like,
you don't have to announce it to the world.
We get it. You don't have a high IQ. Okay, understood. On to the next.
I think Zibanejad, after his first couple of games, and Kreider in general need to be better.
Yes, agreed. And one person asked, and then that'll be it for questions for today. Should they break up Kreider and Zibanejad?
Yes.
How would you break it up?
And I'm going to explain to you why and how. Last season, Kreider had 52 goals. 20 of those goals were at even strength. Alexis Lafreniere, playing on the third line, had 18 goals at even strength. I would love to just swap them.
Wait. Laffy had 18 goals last year?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that like... I don't...
Lafreniere had 19 goals, 1 on the power play, 18 at even strength.
How many points did he have last year?
31. He had 12 assists.
Okay, so these... Holy shit. Yeah, I knew...
The low number of assists keeps that.
I
point trend
forgot.
down.
I honestly forgot that he was basically a 20 goal scorer last year. That's actually it's very good.
Basically,
Very
yeah.
under the radar too. Seriously.
It is. But look, Kreider 20 even strength goals on the first line, Lafreniere 18 even strength goals on the third line. If you swap those two, I don't think Kreider's even strength production takes that big of a hit. As long as you keep him on the first power play unit, he will still get his goals. He had 26 goals on the power play last season.
Yep.
Um,
And Mika and Brett have just hogged everything on the power play so far when
yeah,
it comes to point
and
production.
so
So
I would just go all out with a Lafreniere Zibanejad Kako first line, a Panarin Trocheck Kravtsov second line, and then a third line of Kreider, Hedel, and Goudreau, where Goudreau is the responsible two-way forward, Hedel is the playmaker, and Kreider is the guy that's going to feast on third line opposition.
doesn't that team just look a million times more deep than what it is right now?
It does look a lot better and more balanced that
Yeah.
way, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially with the Rangers having their lack of depth at the wings.
Do you remember
So,
the Penguins that won the Cup in 2016 and 2017?
yes.
Their first line had Crosby, their second line had Malkin, their third line had Kessel.
Yep.
The HBK line, Hagelin, Bonino, Kessel.
Yep.
That was their third line.
Kessel, that line can be what Kreider could be this year. I like that.
By the way,
like
congratulations to Kessel for getting the Ironman streak and his 400th career goal in the same game.
Yeah.
But do you remember the third line in 2014?
The Rangers?
The Rangers' third line in 2014 when we made it to the Stanley Cup final.
That goes in hand with today's episode.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay. So
it was Pouliot, Brassard, Zuccarello.
There you go.
And they were feasting on opponents' third lines.
That was one of the most fun lines I've ever witnessed.
It was. That's one of the most memorable lines in my 25 to 30 years of watching Ranger hockey.
Does it stain that before we know it, it's going to be a decade ago?
Oh, dude, shut up. I didn't even want to know. By the way, 4 years from now, the Rangers will celebrate their 100-year anniversary.
Holy shit, that's crazy. Okay, one more thing, Steven.
Sure.
Who is the other Ranger to wear the number 67?
I actually know this because
you son of a bitch.
I used a picture of him during my season countdown over the summer.
Oh, of course you did, because you used the most miscellaneous players.
It was
the legend from Michigan.
It was the rookie number of Cristobal Boo Nieves.
Yeah, he went to Michigan, right?
He went to the Michigan Wolverines. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I remember that.
I think he retired from hockey. I don't think he's playing anywhere at the moment.
Oh, I remember that he went to Tampa after the Rangers, just because it was still in that process of Tampa taking every one of the Rangers had from him, Sean Day, etc.
He gave up number 24 when Kako made the team in 2019, and he switched to 15.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Wow. So. Okay. All right, Steven. Any final words before we get out of here?
Look. Just like a word to people that discuss hockey online. Just say whatever you want to say. And I saw Bob Kawa say this on Twitter today. As long as you don't hurt anyone, express your opinion. Say what you want to say about hockey. Just be honest, be open. Don't listen to people that try to talk down to you. Now, we all love this game. We love talking about it. And 8 games is early in the season, but we also get frustrated when we lose a game. It's okay to lash out after a loss. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be disappointed. Don't hold back. Just talk about hockey the way you want to.
Beautifully said, Steven. And with that being said, that's going to wrap up episode 67 of Rangers Review. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you're here on the YouTube channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Drop us a comment down below if you listen to this on replay. For everyone, wherever you get your audio podcasts, make sure to rate, review, listen, all that great stuff. Thank you guys all so much. We will see you hopefully back in the next week or so. And until then, as always, Steven, let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers, Tyler.